Hello and welcome to the British Dapper. Today we're talking about elevating your style, tips for accessories. So it's fair to say accessories is a very broad thing, and today I'm not going to be covering ties and I'm not going to be covering pocket squares. I'm going to take that as a given, and I have other videos that you can see about those specifically. But what I'm talking about today is things like pin badges, watches, cufflinks, those sort of things. And that's what we're going to drill down into now. So it really does depend on what level you're going to be dressing for. If it's a very formal event or a very casual, laid back affair, that will dictate the type of accessories you use. For example, if you're going to a job interview and you're going for a job, for example, that requires you to wear a business suit and a very officious look, then you're not really going to look very good if you accessorize with a lot of bracelets, looking for that surfer dude look. It won't give you any credibility at all. However, if you're going for a job selling surfboards and surf equipment, then maybe you won't be wearing a suit, you'll be wearing something a lot more casual, and you'll wear those bracelets and it will fit in with that environment and that type of situation. So if you are going to wear beads or bracelets, then there's a few things that I would suggest when you're looking at a very sartorial level and dressing for very formal and purposeful meanings. In other words, wearing a suit or a blazer in a very formal setting, then maybe only wear, for example, one set of beads as a statement piece. But even with this suit, it's out of place unless there's a religious significance to wearing those beads. So I would say with any accessory in a sartorial setting, less is better way to go, let's say. It is about understatement, refinement that really does make the difference. So for example, if you're going to wear those bracelets, so for example, many years ago, very heavy metal bracelets, gold bracelets were very popular. And now, not so much. Things go in and out of fashion. I would suggest if you're going to wear something like that, or you feel you should wear something like that, then go for something a lot more discreet. A smaller chain, for example, or even a very thin band of gold would look quite good. Remember, the idea is to elevate your look, not to take away from your look. So the next thing I'm going to come on to, and I'm only touching on this briefly, and that is wristwatches. So for example, a wristwatch is there for a purpose. It's to tell the time with. But if you're using it from an accessory point of view, then it should enhance your overall image. So if you're wearing gold jewellery, then you should really be looking at wearing a gold or gold-plated watch. So for example, if you're wearing silver or platinum, then you're looking at steel or a silver watch as an example. Now, the level of formality depends on what type of watch you're going to go for. So you could go for a very dress watch look, a black leather strap, gold casing with a white face. That's a very clean look. The other one that you could go for is a plain gold watch, maybe with a champagne coloured face on a gold casing. Again, very formal and goes well with that look. Something else to consider is something a little bit more chunky. Now I would be very careful with this. Yes, you can go for that more chunky look, but be careful of your wrist size, not to overcomplicate it. And personally, here's a watch that I wear on a regular basis. So it is a Michael Kors, and it's rose gold, so it's an unusual colour, but I use rose gold accessories from time to time, and that ties it all together. And it's an unusual watch, and it's a statement piece, and a watch can be used as that, a statement piece. And you can spend a lot of money on watches. You can buy those Rolexes. There are all different sorts of watches you can purchase, and the price tag that goes with them. You could sell your car or your house and buy a watch. But be careful with that, because if that's the only thing you've got that's elevating that look, and the suit is a cheap suit or the shoes are tatty, then it diminishes the whole effect that you're trying to go for. Now, if we're going for a more casual setting and more casual fit, maybe a sports jacket or even just a sweater or that summer look, open shirt, then maybe something like this is something that you'd go for. It's quite a big watch, but because it's an informal leather strap, more fun, then that would go, for example, with the beads we were talking about, or that surfer look, or a much more relaxed look. Now, watches also come with different coloured leather straps and different coloured casings, for example, silver, steel, brushed steel, aluminium, even powder coated as well, different colours, titanium is another one, as well as precious metals like gold, gold plated or gold effect. So there are a number of things to consider when you're wearing an outfit, and they all have in a way their own pecking order in, for example, the colour of the metals. So for example, if you're wearing a gold watch, then it's reasonable to assume you're going to wear gold cufflinks, potentially a gold coloured belt buckle if you're wearing a belt. So it all ties together, all the same sort of metal colours. If it's a silver or a stainless steel, then we're looking more silver related colours going through. So the next thing is about our hands. Now, when we are dressing our hands, for example, a ring, in my case I'm married, so I wear a wedding ring, but we don't really want to go for that image where you've got a ring on every finger, unless you're going for that very, very relaxed look. So if you're wearing a suit or for a formal occasion, I would always recommend, obviously if you're wearing a wedding ring, that's fine, but one other ring, and maybe on the other hand, either we're talking about a pinky ring or the next ring finger up. And that's a really good look, and it's not too much. So rings come in different forms. So for example, you can have signet rings, you can have a ring that's a statement piece, really big, quite exuberant, let's say, and that's fine. In the right setting, it's a good look. You've got smaller rings as well. That onyx is a classic example, a gold ring with an onyx piece set into it. Another thing would be military rings or association rings as well. They are quite commonly seen nowadays. So the next thing is tie pins and tie clips. Now, they're not seen that often nowadays, but they are still quite commonly used, and they are to either, if it's a tie pin, for example like this, they are designed to pin the tie to the shirt, and they are in themselves a little bit of a statement piece. But they look better on something that's a plain colour because they then stand out. The tie pin might be something to do with an association or a private club. So tie clips, okay, so tie pins go high up, normally around about this, between the first button down and the second button down, and they're normally quite high up. However, when it comes to tie bars, for example like this, these tend to be set further down, about the third or fourth, maybe even the fifth button down, and they are historically not really supposed to be seen. I know that the modern trend, and this even goes back into the 50s, where it was brought up higher up, where it was a statement piece. For example, with this, it's got a diamond set in it. So you might use that high up to show off your form of wealth. I would suggest though, well personally, always use it further down, set down, and it is only to hold the tie in a certain position. And in truth, if you tie the knot right and you've got a good fitting jacket, you shouldn't get that stretch in the tie. But a tie bar comes in different lengths as well, and the different lengths dictate the width of the tie. So for example, you wouldn't use something that is a really wide tie clip on a very narrow tie. It shouldn't overshoot the tie. Some will also have a retaining chain, and on that chain there will be a little loop that slips over the button, and then the tie clip clips over the front. That way, if the tie clip ever gets loose, you don't lose the tie clip itself. And some of these can be very expensive. They can be made of gold with diamonds inset, or rubies, and so precious metals. So you don't really want to lose them. So the next thing I'm going to come on to is collar bars. Now these are not very common nowadays, but collar bars and pins go through the shirt and underneath the tie, and that pulls the collar in a little bit and lifts up the tie. Became very popular again in the mid-80s, and a lot of people were starting to wear them again. But what I would say is that if you like that look, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And depending on the look that you want to achieve, then it just depends if you're going to use a bar that actually goes through the shirt and out the other side with a little nut on the end of it, or if you're going to go for something that's like a pin that actually pins in, like a safety pin, for example. But they're not very common nowadays, but you can still buy shirts with the little holes in them, pre-prepared, ready for that collar bar to go through. But I would suggest that that is more of a less formal look, less of a business look and more of a middle of the road casual look. So something else to consider is cufflinks. Now I do like my cufflinks. I tend to wear cufflinks with a French cuff shirt, which is a double cuff, and that affords the use of cufflinks. However, barrel cuff shirts do sometimes come with a buttonhole for a cufflink as well, and sometimes I do wear them even with a single cuff shirt. But if you're going to get one, then we're talking about something quite subtle, maybe a square gold one. I wear these quite a lot. They're black enamelled ones with a gold insert. Again, if there's something specific to you or some meaning to you, for example, this one here is the Royal Norfolk and Suffolk Yacht Club, and this is where I got married, so it has a significance to me. When I'm wearing rose gold watch, I tend to accessorise with rose gold cufflinks, and this is an unusual one. Quite a nice design and different. And finally, come on to T-bar cufflinks. Now these mean that they are set. They don't move, and you basically put them in as you would any other ones, but they have a different closure mechanism, if you like, and they add a pop of colour as well. It's very common nowadays to have pin badges. Now all I would say from a sartorial point of view, and for that look of elegance, I would retain only one on my jacket, possibly two, dependent on the association between the two. So on some occasions you will see me wear my British Legion badge alongside my veterans badge. But in most cases I try and wear them separately. Now when it comes to pin badges, I would suggest that you stick with something that means something to you. For example, an association, a club, a memory, a fond memory. For example, I wear this one from time to time, and that reminds me of my Scottish heritage. I wear this one from time to time because this reminds me of when I was stationed in South Wales and worked a lot in North Wales in the mountains. Then there are regimental badges. So for example, this one reminds me of my regiment, and I wear that quite often. Here's another version of that. But you can understand why I would wear that, because I have an association, an affiliation, and it's a special memory. But try to avoid something that you think is quite funny or witty, because whilst you might think it's funny, that doesn't mean say everybody else will. And they certainly won't necessarily say, because you're wearing a funny badge, you're going to be a funny person. So for example, things like this, yeah, in a casual setting, a fun setting, that's great. But if you want to create that sartorial, elegant look, those sort of things are not really well placed. For time to time, you will find things like tie rings. These are actually a ring that goes around the tie, and in some cases can be used on a scarf as well. They're not very common, but they do from time to time come in and out of favour fashionable wise. But I would suggest if you're going for the more sartorial and more elegant look, a more sophisticated look would be not to have something like that. And after we've gone through this list of accessories, things like glasses. Now, glasses can actually enhance a look. They can make you look more relaxed, more approachable sometimes. If I wanted to increase the level of officiousness, then I might wear something like this. And as you can see, straight away it changes the overall look. It looks more, a little bit more sterner maybe, a bit more official or officious, but it does change people's perception of you when you wear a different type of pair of glasses. And that brings me on to sunglasses. Now sunglasses are a separate thing altogether, but I'll put a link up here to go through some different versions of sunglasses. But sunglasses, I would suggest go for something that is quite sophisticated in its look and not comedy. So just a short video just looking at how you can improve your level of sophistication and how you can accessorize and do it in a very sophisticated style. So if you like the video, then give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, then please feel free to do so, and you'll get notifications when our next video is coming out. If you'd like to support the channel further, then why not buy me a coffee, and I'll put the link down below, and you can make a contribution towards the channel. If you'd like to make some comments about content, about what you'd like to see us cover in the future, then again just jot them down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And you never know, in the next video we might include some of the information that you've provided or what you've asked for. So until next time, take care.